Warning. The following show features reviews from wildly unprofessional critics operating without the supervision of professionals. The thoughts and opinions held by these individuals are not to be taken seriously and do not come from a place of intellectual integrity. This show doesn't reflect the opinions of Criticalist or its users. Viewer discretion is advised.
What's up? What's up? What is up, everybody? Hello, and welcome to another episode of Criticalist Cast Unhinged. My name is Blaine Andrews, and I am your host, per usual. And today we are going to be talking about Companion, the new thriller sci-fi comedy film. I am not branding this as a horror film, which it has been labeled everywhere as, and that is total bull honky because it is not a horror film. So I'm not going to say that, but it is a thriller sci-fi comedy. And this film is directed by Drew Hancock, and we'll go through everybody that it stars and all that fun stuff in a little bit, but thank you for joining us first and foremost. And I guess I should go ahead and introduce my co-host, Mr. Matt Verlack.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Thanks for joining us.
And as you see, I did not introduce anyone else to this show because there are two sacks of shit who decided not to join us today. Mr. Chris Kaus didn't come in, and neither did Mr. Kyle Gazak. They both ghosted on us. So it is just the dynamic duo, but whatever. We don't need you guys.
They missed out,
and
we don't. We've proven it.
Having fun without you. So, because we all have all of you guys in the chat joining us today, which has been really fun to be doing these live streams, and it's just, it's fun. It's exciting. It's different for us. So thank you for joining us. And as you start to come in, thanks and welcome and all that fun stuff. But yeah, so today we're going to touch in on a teeny tiny bit of news. I haven't done a whole lot of news this week. I did like one video, and then I did a review today actually for your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, which you can check out that video after you finish watching this one, because I did review it and was talking about if the show was actually woke or not, which are the allegations that have been levied against it. And we'll talk about it a little bit more today on this show. But yeah, so we'll be talking about some stuff we've been streaming and watching, the movie and all that fun stuff. So, and I don't think we have any Criticalist housekeeping currently. So
yeah, I can't think of anything right now.
Yeah, and we will touch on some reviews. I see that we have 2 reviews already for Companion. For whatever reason, I keep wanting to call this movie Compliance. So if at some point throughout this stream, if I call it Compliance, I'm talking about Companion. So
I think Compliance could work for this movie. Right. After like watching it, I'm like, oh yeah, Compliance.
Yeah, it could totally work. And every time I see it, I keep thinking that that's the name of the movie, and it's like written in cursive on the poster and stuff. So it's extra easy to do because, you know, I'm special needs and can't read cursive on the fly. So
what are these words again? This archaic language. What is this shit?
This scribble scrabble on here, I can't read this. This is beyond my education level.
They stopped teaching that to me in the 2nd grade.
Exactly. So yes, and I should go ahead and say hey to everybody. So what's up, Wine Fiend? What's up, Jeremy? Holy crap, Jeremy! I miss good movies. What's up, buddy? Finally made it into a live stream. Hey, and Caveat Ties, or as we all know him, Mr. Cave Titties. Hello, sir. And Miss Criticalist, as usual, as well. And Jared, what's up, buddy? That's Terrapin Reviews for everybody that's our Criticalist users. So welcome all you guys, and glad to have you in here. And I'm just, I want to go ahead and get rolling on actually starting out with the news. I don't know if you saw this, Matt, but there were some things that were announced today, actually, connected to Netflix, and there were movies that I forgot were happening. The one that I am most excited about is the fact that we have a Guillermo del Toro Frankenstein movie coming.
Yeah, that could be very exciting. I'm gonna hold my breath until we have something to actually see.
We have a picture.
Okay,
we do have a picture.
I've been holding my breath for a while.
Yeah, that was a whole 5 seconds. So we do have a picture that Matt can go ahead and share on the screen, but of Oscar Isaac, who I guess is Dr. Frankenstein. So yeah, that's really all we've got. He's holding a vial or something.
It's probably the electrical conduit. He's gonna plug in
yeah, you're probably right. That's good. I like that. And so they did announce some more things as far as Rip, which is something I don't know a lot about. Also, Happy Gilmore 2, and we have a picture and Knives Out 3.
Ooh, I'm happy. I'm excited for Happy Gilmore 2.
Me too. I'm very curious. I hope it's good. We all know that when they do these sequels way after the fact. They can turn out to be all right, or they could be like the Bill and Ted sequel, which
they would be smart to do is let Happy Gilmore just carry on the legacy. Let Happy Gilmore still be his happy-go-lucky idiot self.
Right.
Like, don't smarten him up. Don't make him something else. Don't make this political. Just make it a fun movie.
Just a good old-fashioned dum-dum, which is what Adam Sandler is best at. So
yeah, I mean, that's changing. He's got more serious movies and people like him, but he can still do those dumb movies. He's proven it. Hubie Halloween.
Yeah.
Pure example of what his old movies used to be.
Right.
More
goofy
older.
And stupid.
So like it's doable.
Yeah, it is. So I hope that they go that route with this movie. I hope Happy Gilmore 2 is good. And I actually saw in a recent review in Criticalist where it was for Groundhog Day and they had attached a trailer for Groundhog Day 2. And I had absolutely no idea that was going to happen. And then when I saw the trailer, I was a wee bit sad because it's very serious.
No. Well, I mean, does it still have what's his face?
Yeah, Bill Murray's in it.
Bill Murray returns.
He returns, but it's about his daughter, and it looks like they're playing most of the movie fairly serious. So
I mean, I guess it's been a while since I've seen the first Groundhog's Day, but wasn't that mostly serious? I mean, there was like the comedic bits, but then it was serious.
It had serious elements. I don't know. Yeah, I'll be interested to see where they go with it, but who knows? Now, this other thing, this RIP or RIP, I don't know which it's actually going by, is a Matt Damon and Ben Affleck film. They do have a picture. It looks like they're playing cops. And I don't know a whole lot about it yet, but obviously we've got Matt Damon with a hell of a goatee. So obviously that's great. And I don't know. I'm curious about this movie. I like the two of them when they act together and do things.
I like it that it just took Ben breaking up with J-Lo again to return to hanging out with Matt.
Yep.
Because I mean, I feel like
now how it goes.
Don't they have two movies coming along?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're getting the Dangerous Duos back. Yeah. We also had Wolf with George Clooney
and Brad Pitt.
And I was like, okay, cool. We're getting these guys back.
All these 90s bros hanging back out again. So yeah, I'm curious about this movie. I don't really know a whole lot about it yet, but a cop movie with the two of them sounds fun. And then Knives Out 3, which I'm not gonna lie, I'm not excited about because I think that Rian Johnson is his ego is just too big for his own for his own britches.
Yeah, and I watched Glass Onion. I don't know if you ended up watching or not. It was fine. Even Knives Out's only fine. Like, it does not deserve to have 3 movies.
No, especially for what Netflix has paid for this series and paid him for.
That's why our prices are all going up, because Netflix wasted all their fucking money.
Right? Yeah, seriously. Keep dumping it on people like Rian Johnson, the man who destroyed Star Wars. So,
destroyed it, people.
Yeah, there's that. But yeah, so I'm not super excited about Wake Up Dead Man, but I'm sure we'll watch it because if anything, we can just say that we've seen another mid Rian Johnson movie. So, which I do hate, because I am on the record as saying that Brick is one of my favorite films of all time, which was one of his first or his first movie. And I love it. I thought it was great. And actually, his several films following that were good. But then the second that dude got political, it's like his brain rotted from the freaking inside out. He's a decent filmmaker, but his head has just gotten so shoved up his butt about politics now that you can't get around it with his movies. And I watched his TV show Poker Face, and I kid you not, I don't know if I told you about watching this.
No.
The show has a racist dog in it that listens to right-wing radio. I am not joking, and that is in a Rian Johnson television show.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I was just like, this guy's lost the plot. Like, this is just absurd.
Nah.
And so it's just too much. I don't have patience for it. So anyways, yeah, they did announce that. We'll put the article in the show notes, but there's that. And then I did want to touch on, we've kind of talked about it off camera a little bit, but the Anthony Mackie saga continues because the dude is absolutely hell-bent on destroying whatever remains.
You know what? Okay, maybe he's the hero we need.
Oh, yeah? He's destroying Marvel.
He's destroying Marvel. He is finally putting the pickaxe in the back of the superheroes that we all love so that it can crumble to then be rebuilt.
Just brought back from the dead.
Because fire destroys, but then it brings new life.
Yeah, from the ashes. Yeah. I hear you. I can get behind that. Maybe this is all just a stealth operation to save the superhero genre.
That's like 5-10 years from now, he's gonna be like, I did that on purpose, guys. I did it for you.
Right. Yeah, it's been one of these weird things as you've watched social media over the past week with this whole thing about Anthony Mackie, basically the video of him coming out and basically saying that he thinks that America is not something that needs to be connected with Captain America. I also did a news segment on that, but that just absurd. Like,
dude, I can't believe he said that.
It's outrageous.
It's outrageous. Like, you're Captain America, and you could say, you stand for certain morals that should be the backbone of America and have been forever, something like that. And like, you could say something along the lines of like, everybody should have these
these morals or these like that. This is the foundation that America stands on, and plenty of other countries and places and people around the world stand for these exact same things. Boom, done, simple. But instead, you shit on America's ass. That's what he did. So, whatever. I just go ahead, replace him with Bucky. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I mean, that's what it should have been the whole time. And I was like, okay, I'll go with it. I'll see what happens. And then the further along, it's not that he's a bad captain. Right. It's just that it's not working out.
No, it's not. And it's not for him. And I've talked about it ad nauseum at this point, but it's like just basing the whole character in that show based around race relations and all this stuff. It's just like, that is not how you kick off this unifying figure. It's just not. It was a terrible move by Marvel. But yeah, this article is basically saying that Anthony Mackie says, chill the fuck out over comparing Red Hulk to Donald Trump, and then responds to fans who called him the rudest celebrity. So yeah, this has actually been circulating around the internet since all of this other stuff, which is basically that a lot of people have been saying that if you encounter this dude in real life, he will not be nice.
Wait, so is he saying that people should stop comparing Red Hulk to Trump?
Yes, that's what he's saying. And so
sure.
Right, exactly, because that's stupid. But what he says is, I hope as a country we're tired of all the political jousting, Mackie said, when asked if fans making inevitable comparisons between Red Hulk and Trump. Like, I don't know why that's inevitable. Like,
I think they're trying to go along the lines of, I'm assuming, obviously, since we haven't seen the movie and we don't know anything about the movie,
right?
That Red Hulk becomes authoritarian,
maybe authoritarian.
Yeah,
maybe. I don't know. And so basically, he's just like, he says like, let's just go to the movies and chill the fuck out. We could have made this motherfucker yellow, and it would have been a problem. But it's just like, Yellow Hulk.
Are you talking Asian?
What do you mean by yellow? Right. How racist are you getting with this Anthony Mackie? I mean, really? Come on. We all know Trump's orange. The man is not yellow.
Yeah. Come on. People.
So he even managed to fuck up the color of Trump. So, I mean, just failure on every angle with Anthony Mackie. The guy can't seem to get anything right. But I just found this also fairly funny. But a lot of people have just kind of been giving him crap, and rightfully so, honestly, which I kind of hate because I really did like him a lot earlier on. But it seems like the dude is just really struggling to navigate being a celebrity and this world. And basically, he's complaining about like, oh, when I leave the hotel, I don't leave the hotel as Anthony Mackie. I leave the hotel as Captain America. And you're like, well, I mean, yeah, you've been cast in this role, but like Chris Evans didn't seem to have that much trouble navigating in all this time. Henry Cavill didn't seem to have all this trouble navigating Superman. It just sounds like you're a bit of a dick.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. I mean, you're a celebrity, so you have to be on.
Right.
If you want to be liked. I mean, you don't have to be on. You can be a dick and,
you could
throw things at paparazzi, but also it's kind of assumed, you kind of be on, and you chose to accept the role of Captain America.
Right.
He was one of the biggest Avengers.
Yeah.
During the Endgame saga or whatever it's called. So, I mean, you kind of did this to yourself, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
It comes with the fame territory.
Normie in the chat said that someone needs to tell Anthony Mackie to do better, which is spot on. That's a pretty good jab, which he rightfully deserves. And that's my thing with these actors and doing these types of roles and saying these types of things, following in, like, going along with some of these scripts and stuff that are written, where it's like, at the end of the day, like, you are the star of this and you could push back against some of this stupid shit, and most of these people aren't. And so it's kind of like you get your comeuppance. Like, if
well, and that seems to be the interesting thing. What we were just talking about, he's doing to himself. It is not like, oh, here's that we know of yet.
Right.
It's not here's a script that's terrible. It's
right.
Him doing interviews, which some of those, he's given responses he's supposed to say.
Right.
But I also feel like that's him being him.
Right.
That's all it comes down to.
Yeah, it's a bummer. I hate it for him because I think that he thrives more as a secondary character, but that's always kind of been my opinion of him. So, but yeah, let's go ahead and move on into what we've been watching lately. Matt and I have seen a few things. I'm only going to briefly touch on one of them, which I reviewed today, and then one other thing. But Matt, if you want to kick things off, you're welcome to.
Sure. So I was on a stream with Cannoli Sasquatch and Vex Electronica and a couple other people earlier this week, and we talked about In Bruges.
Yeah.
And I loved it. That's an awesome movie.
And look at that. And Matt likes a comedy. Right. Like he found a comedy that he finds funny.
Right. No, if you call a bunch of fat Americans elephants and then run away from them as they try to punch you, that's funny. Okay. It just is. And if a Canadian tells you to put out your cigarette in a smoking section and then you punch him after talking about Vietnamese, that's funny. I can't help that. That's funny. I think everybody would find that objectively funny.
Yeah.
So
we've found your type of comedy is what you're getting at.
And it doesn't happen very often in movies.
Right. Whatever this brand of comedy is.
Comedy, like Team America.
Well, right. Well, man, I love Team America. Well, also, you like very dry comedy, like British comedy as well.
Right. Well, and that's the thing is the execution in this movie is dry. It is just off the cuff. Like there's an argument about fighting people when you're in a life or death situation. And they're talking about what if it was like a 50-year-old Chinese lollipop salesman. And it was funny. Right. And it was dry. And it was just back and forth. Like,
it's good banter.
Right. Yeah. And it's funny banter. And that's the same with a lot of British humor. It's funny banter.
Right. Yeah. I remember it being very funny. I literally have not seen it, and I don't know how long it's come out, but it feels like it's been around 20 years. And
it has been around 20 years.
I saw it on opening weekend in theaters and have not seen it since. So I mean, I literally
apparently it tanked in theaters.
Oh yeah, I remember. I had to drive all the way to the other side of Charlotte to an indie movie theater to watch it because it was nowhere. So it makes sense because they weren't showing it anywhere.
Yeah, that was the problem. They didn't show it anywhere.
Yeah.
And then where they did show it, it didn't sell out to do enough to warrant a larger release.
Right.
Which is unfortunate because I mean it's now been 20 years. This is my first viewing of it. And I'm like, this movie's freaking hilarious.
Right. Yeah. Well, at least it holds up. That's good. Especially as sometimes comedies struggle to hold up depending on the type of comedy and the time that it came out and all that.
So. I mean, throughout our discussion, we did decide there was some issues or some plot issues.
Right.
Where they just kind of wave their hand and didn't quite make sense. And you're like, well, why is that? Doesn't make sense.
Just kind of some loose ends or whatever.
I've written my review. It's just stuck in my draft. I have not finished it yet. I need to revisit it and release it.
Okay.
Because it's now been a week. But
nice.
Here we are. So
sweet. Well, I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead. We'll pivot back over to me. I'll talk about really quickly. Like I said, I did a video on Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. This is the new animated show on Disney Plus. It's a Spider-Man television show, and no one seems to know it exists because they haven't been marketing it. They haven't been talking about it. Disney doesn't seem to be championing it. I have a feeling that some of this might be due to the fact that they were worried about poor reception from the fans, and they can't take any more lumps. Disney has just been taking a bludgeoning lately, and Marvel specifically, and this show is not bad, actually. But a lot of people hated on the animation from the trailers. I actually like it. I think it's fairly smooth and fluid, but I also really like that kind of pop art from that style, which they are basing this off of. And it feels like you're kind of working your way through a comic panel at times where it shows the comic panels in the show, and all of that was cool. It kicks off really neat with Doctor Strange showing up and this kind of Venom-esque creature, but this is not an it is an MCU show, but it is not connected to Tom Holland at all.
Is it just a different Venom character
I don't know if it even was a Venom. It just kind of looked like one. They didn't address it. It's just this creature. That's why. So in this world, Spider-Man gets bit actually not from a radioactive spider, but from an alternate dimensional spider that came through a portal with Doctor Strange. So this is a totally different
into
Spider-Man.
the Spider-Verse.
Kind of, yeah. Yeah, it's a totally different Spider-Man. I mean, it is Peter, but it's a different world. It's whatever. So, but there are going to be people that have issues with it. It is very much a hyper diversity situation with this show. So it's typical Marvel. It has some. There's a issue, or there's a point in which someone gets racially profiled by the police, things like that. There are going to be people in our community and in the circle that we kind of roll with that are going to have issues with some of this stuff. They even bother to watch it, but I think a lot of people aren't even going to bother because they're so over Marvel, and a lot of people have unsubscribed from Disney Plus. So
and I feel like a lot of shows kind of fly under the radar.
Right.
Even though, I mean, I was on Disney earlier and, I saw it at the top scroller.
Right.
And I was going to wait, and I was with my son, and I was like, well, maybe I'll put this on. And then I was like, well, I'm gonna watch it beforehand.
Right.
Like, I want to see. I know this is supposed to be like comic book style, and there's some other series. It's an older comic book show, and there's actually only 4. It's like a mini episode thing.
Okay.
Where it's Spider-Man and Iron Man.
Okay.
And it is the same, very similar, anyways, style where it is comic book pages.
Yeah.
And they kind of like move slowly, and there's like a We've watched that before with my son, and he's liked it. So he might be into the style, but I want to watch it first.
Yeah, and there is actually, I was surprised there's a little bit of language in that show. I think there's like a few shits or something, like nothing terrible, but kind of in line with MCU. So it seems like maybe they are gearing it a little bit more toward older audience. But kind of one of those things, like I said on my video, if you have Disney Plus, maybe try it out, but there's going to be things that aggravate people. A lot of the gender, race swapping, all that stuff is happening here with all the characters just being totally different. Most of it didn't bother me too bad, honestly.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is they've set this up to be an alternative universe, so we're talking a way different Earth.
Right.
So to me, that doesn't bother me.
Right.
Because if it does, if that's going to bother you, then you're not going to like, Into the Spider-Verse and things like that, where as long as it's a different timeline.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Right, exactly. And that's kind of where I am with it. So it just all depends on your preference. But I'm going to keep watching it. Me and Clark, my son, watched it together. He liked it really well. And so he did really get upset when Doc Connors was like a totally different race and gender. And he's just like, what is happening? He's like, that is not Doc Connors. And I was like, I hear you. So, I get it. And there are going to be people that do that. So, especially it's like a kid. He's used to seeing a certain thing.
But my son still can't wrap his head around Falcon.
Right. Being
Mackie being Captain America. Right. He's like, why is Falcon holding Cap's shield?
Right.
I don't understand.
Yeah. Cause that's what it looks like.
Right. And we've seen the trailer now on TV and, various press around. And he's like, I don't understand.
Right.
Why? What is this?
Right. So I don't know. Yeah, I'm interested to hear everybody's thoughts about it if they do try it. But that's the deets on Spider-Man, and you can go check out the video too. I'll go into a little bit more depth. But what was the other thing you were going to chat about?
Yeah. So we were watching Survivor for a period of time, which is fine. I mean, it's enjoyable, but we were cherry picking seasons to watch, like the best seasons. And then I was like, man, I really just want to watch a show about a person versus nature. Which I thought Survivor was, and it's not really. Like, there is that small element, but it's not really. So we found another show called Alone.
Oh, I've seen,
And it's about, they take 10 people and they put them in, up in Canada on an island called Vancouver Island. And they can bring
some of this.
They can bring 10 items with them, and then they survive however long they can.
So any 10 items?
Yep.
I want somebody to just get brought onto the show and then just bring like a bag of dildos or something. Like, no one knows what they bring. And they're like, you want to see what I got?
And I died the next day.
These are my 10 items. I'm going to bludgeon a bear.
Hilarious. But then it's so funny because the show, they bring the things you would think. They bring a fire starter. They bring rope, a hatchet, a knife, things like that. And the show's really man versus nature versus man, because I've seen 2 seasons now, and it goes through the same kind of process. The first couple people leave because they can't handle the nature part. Then the rest of the people have to deal with themselves because there's no human contact. There's nobody to talk to. There's no phone, it's you just surviving.
And I guess they're far enough away from each other that they're just not going to encounter each other.
Yeah, they'll say how far they are from each other, and it's like 7 to 10 miles.
Okay.
So they're a good distance away from each other.
So you couldn't just be out there and be like, hooty hoo, and like try and get somebody.
One time where somebody did, I can't remember what they did. There was something though, and it was loud enough, and I was like, I feel like that might like be here. They might hear that somewhere else, but they didn't show.
What? Somebody should have brought fireworks. They just start setting off fireworks. They're like, I'm out here. Me and my dildos. We're out in the woods. Come find me.
Like they don't say there's no limitation, but I feel like there's a limitation.
Okay.
Like you probably can't bring out like a book on how to survive the wilderness.
Okay.
If I had to guess.
Right.
I mean, they don't say that.
Right.
But overall, it's a fun show to watch because you just see these people struggle or excel at living in nature. And there's these people that make like full-on beautiful houses and then just go, okay.
Tired of doing this.
I did what I needed to do here. I'm tired of like talking to myself. I'm out of here after 30 days.
Wow.
and then they just leave.
What do they get for winning?
$500,000.
Okay, that's not too bad. That's pretty good.
Yeah, no. And that's why people are like, I don't know why I'm here right now. I don't even know.
Couldn't be for the money.
Maybe for the $500,000. And those are the people that like psych themselves out of the competition. And I'm just like, dude, this is a competition.
Okay.
Yeah, it's you versus yourself and nature, but also for the goal of money.
Right. And your wife, by the way, said that she thinks that they give them an item or a list of items that they can choose from the 10 items. So that would make sense.
They don't say that.
Right.
Like when the show starts, they're like, we drop 10 people off at random locations with,
right.
And they can pack 10 items.
Right.
But
yeah, who knows?
I don't know.
That sounds cool though. We've seen a little bit of it before too. It sounds like several of the people in the chat have seen this before as well.
And I know there's actually a new show similar to it coming on. I think it's on Netflix. I think I saw it coming soon. And I think it's like in Antarctica or something like that, somewhere where it's actually cold. And I know there's an Australian version of this also, which would be interesting.
Right.
Because
that's Jeremy's people.
Right. Jeremy's people down under.
Yeah.
You can go join them.
I mean, he says it's pretty terrifying. So,
yeah, that's what he would say.
Yeah, it would be. Talking a big game.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing I want to talk about actually is currently the number 4 most watched thing on Netflix, right? I wanted to see in theaters, but couldn't find it in any theaters around. And it's Saturday Night. The new film about Saturday Night Live. And basically it takes place in the hour or 2 hours before the very first airing of Saturday Night Live. And I'm not a Saturday Night Live fan. For the majority of my life, Saturday Night Live has been hot trash. It's just not been very good. It comes and goes. As far as back when we were in college, there was some good folks on and it was okay. But I still really didn't know anybody that regularly watched it. And its heyday is long behind them.
Yeah.
So this is about the OG cast, and it follows, the likes of Chevy Chase and Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi and all of these folks. And it is, there are so many people in this movie. The acting is excellent. I would say if you have nostalgia for the OG SNL crew, you'll probably like this.
Okay.
There are some really good impersonations. There's some, honestly, it's kind of one of those watch it for historical reasons. It's just this encapsulation of that time. It's just a lot of just wild, weird theater kids and weirdos just smoking dope and going wild. And there's so many people that were involved in that first night of SNL. Jim Henson is on there with his Muppets, and
really,
yeah, the same actor actually plays Jim Henson, who also plays another famous comedian who I'm blanking on right now, who Jim Carrey did a biopic film about, and I cannot think of his name. I'm sure someone in the chat will know, but yeah, so he's playing one of the guys is playing 2 different characters, one of which being Jim Henson. But the cast on this movie is wild. The number of cameos, there are a lot of people that pop up in this movie that you're like, holy shit, they're in this too. And they just pop in and out. And
wait, do you mean actually SNL cast famous?
No, just big actors.
Halle Berry just pops up for a second or whatever.
Not Halle Berry, but yes.
Halle Berry.
No, it's just different other well-known celebrities just popping in for a quick minute to play somebody, and they will pop in and out. But it's a very hectic, chaotic thing. It's really cool. A lot of it feels almost like a bunch of one shots tied together.
Yeah.
So it's them going backstage and having conversations and wacky shit happening and people just being ridiculous and drugged out, and everybody's just it's chaos. And apparently, for example, Belushi apparently was just an absolute shit show, and there were just some interesting personalities, and there's some really good performances. The guy that plays Chevy Chase is fantastic. Dylan O'Brien does a really good job as Dan Aykroyd. There's some really good performances in here. For example, the cameos, Willem Dafoe's in this. There are other people that just pop in and out. So I recommend it, honestly, even though I'm not a huge SNL fan. I still really enjoyed this. It was a little piece of history, and honestly, it very much focuses on Lorne Michaels, the guy who started SNL and the kind of mastermind behind it.
Because this is about the first night, right?
Yes,
Their first opening night. Okay.
And this is directed by Jason Reitman, the son of the guy who did Ghostbusters.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say Reitman.
Yeah. And who did the first reboot, or not continuation, whatever's happened with these Ghostbusters movies.
Continuation.
He did that one as well. So I think this is a really solid film. I've enjoyed it. It's a little longer than it probably should be, but it's an hour and 50 minutes. But I still really did enjoy it, and it was fun. And some of it is like so ridiculous. So there's like I highly doubt they made this up just because it is so absurd. So I don't know. It was a fun watch.
I feel like it's probably not made up.
Yeah.
I feel like somebody would come out and be like, I wasn't doing that.
Right.
That's not
so many
real.
of these people are alive.
Exactly.
Also, it was Andy Kaufman, Jared said in the chat. So there's the guy who plays Jim Henson also plays Andy Kaufman, and he does an excellent job at both. It's actually one of the lead actors from Succession. So he's just very good. So this is a good movie. I would recommend checking it out, even if you're not a huge SNL fan, but you just need to know that like the type of film and what you're getting into.
Yeah.
It's not like an action romp or anything. It's just,
right.
It's got like some comedy bits, and it's more of just like a bird's eye view almost of that day.
Like Late Night with the Devil, but without the horror element.
Kind of, sort of. Yeah.
Right?
Honestly, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. So yeah, that's Saturday night. It's super trending right now on Netflix. So a lot of people are watching it clearly. So that was kind of what lit the fire under my butt. It's like, oh, it's somewhere for free. So I'll watch it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a solid movie. But do you think we should go ahead and talk about Companion?
Let's do it.
I think we should. So before we do that, if you are watching, make sure to subscribe, hit the subscribe button down below on our YouTube, or if you're coming in or watching from X, hop over to YouTube and give us a sub. The channel is growing and we are finally monetized now, which is super cool. And things are moving along. And so we're having fun with it and growing this channel. And so make sure to sub, give us the likes, the comments, all that. And thank you as always to all of our usuals for showing up in the chat and checking it out. And yeah, we have some other folks there, 1975 pointing out Andy Kaufman as well. And the actor's name is Nicholas Braun. Who plays them. So yeah.
Yep.
It's always good to have you guys out here to correct me because, well, obviously if Chris was here, it would not be Chris. So.
Right. And also shout out to Normie.
Yeah.
He's here.
What's up, buddy?
Hanging out. And then I don't know how to say his name, but it was way earlier. Came Namiak.
Oh, good job there.
And hi. So shout out to you if you're still here. Appreciate you.
And it looks like Jeremy left. See you later, buddy.
Yeah. Yep.
So yeah.
Cool.
All right, sweet. Well, let's go ahead and get into our review of Companion. There is going to be a spoiler-free. I'm almost going to break this into 3 parts. We are going to have a very, very mini, this is our opinion of this film, because there is like, it's good to have if you really want to know nothing. And then our spoiler-free actual conversation and our spoilery to
Dude, I don't even know how you spoiler-free this. That's where in my mind this is similar to Barbarian.
I know
it's hard to spoiler-free.
It is. We can navigate it to a degree. It's just going to be a spoiler-free, as in you've seen the trailer.
Yeah, and it'll probably be a very short discussion.
Yeah,
because it's hard.
It is. This is going to be hard to discuss. Yeah. In that format. So, El Capitan hopped in as well. What's up, buddy? So, he's here to talk about AI girlfriends as well. So, which I guess there's the spoiler shit. So I did do that, which I did it in the actual thumbnail. So I guess that's kind of my fault. But so I mentioned before, this is directed by Dan Hancock, and it looks like he has not been attached to a whole lot, except for pretty much like Blue Mountain State and Fred 3, the movie. So he and then just a bunch of other smaller things. So this guy's seems to be an up and comer here in the industry, and he wrote and directed this movie, so big props on that. And this is starring Sophie Thatcher, who was recently in my #1 film of last year, Heretic. So she's back in this. She's a definitely also a rising star for sure. Also starring Jack Quaid, who is known from The Boys.
He's really becoming a Scream King.
A Scream King.
Scream King makes me squeamish.
Yes, a Scream King, along with what's his face? That is in all of the horror movies, which I would think of Justin Long, who I would say is the other Scream King. But and so it's starring the 2 of them as the 2 lead roles, but we've got Lucas Cage, Megan Suri, and Harvey Gillian, who you will recognize from What We Do in the Shadows.
Yeah, and he's done a handful of movies that he plays the same role.
Yep. And I'm trying to think. Yeah, I mentioned Lucas Cage. So yeah, those are the main cast here. This is a fairly tight film, not a ton of actors in it, only a handful. The other thing is this is a brisk hour and a half, which we do not get much of anymore. Now, what it says here in the overview is a billionaire's death sets off a chain of events for Iris and her friends during a weekend trip to his lakeside estate. And I actually think that this is the best way to sum up this movie without spoilers.
Right.
And I think that the trailers are loaded full of spoilers. So
yeah, they're the freaking trailers. They always ruin movies.
I know.
Even the poster gives away too much.
It really does. And we say this like every freaking week, I think, but I'm over trailers ruining everything because this movie buries the lead for quite a while, which was spoiled in like moment one of the trailers. So there's that, which is why I was a little less scared about certain things in the thumbnail as well. But we'll go ahead and give our opinions on this for the two of us and kind of what you're getting into, and then we'll get into the spoiler-free discussion. So, Matt, what was your opinion of this movie? I'm really curious because which you probably thought, did you think you were going into a horror movie or did you?
On it? No, I didn't think I was going into a horror movie because we had talked about it beforehand and it was kind of being billed as a sci-fi thriller. And AMC had as a thriller, and I'd not actually seen very many people calling it a horror movie.
Right.
The only reason I thought horror in my mind was because they'd been like, oh, from the minds of Barbarian or however they were pitching it. And I was like, okay, Barbarian.
Yeah, they're advertising this as from the people who brought you The Notebook and Barbarian.
Yeah. And I need to understand why that is. It must have been producers, because if it's not the director or
studio
writer,
or something, maybe.
I mean, maybe.
Yeah, it was a very interesting way to market it, but I like it. I don't know how they made those connections, but I'm honestly game for it. It's really funny, and it kind of leans into the comedic element of this.
Right, it does, for sure.
Because one of which is a hardcore romance movie, the other which is a full-blown horror film. And
that'll stay with you for a long time.
Yeah, it will. Which, every time Barbarian comes up, we get to cackle about it. So, yeah, and actually in the chat, Namek, I think that's how you say that. Well, there's more to that, but my font over here is tiny. So I asked if it was too short, and I would say this movie is the absolute perfect length.
Perfect length.
Yeah, like legit.
A minute longer would be too much.
Yeah, like the perfect length. I think that they trimmed it down flawlessly. So I guess, Matt, your opinion of this movie.
Sorry, back to that.
Yeah.
I liked it.
Yeah?
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
Okay, nice.
There was a time during the movie where I was like, man, I don't like this.
Really?
But there was
like
just
early on.
I didn't like it. Maybe I was like, man, this is like an okay movie. Maybe it's like a decent. But as the movie kept going and things unrolled and events happened, I was like, okay, I'm liking this more and more and more. And so if somebody got up and left maybe after like 10 or 15 minutes, I could see them going, man, the movie sucked. Like that wasn't
right.
I didn't like that. But it's because they didn't wait for all the good stuff.
Right. This movie does build itself up. Like they spend about a good 30, like really building it up. And like I said, they hold back a bit in the start of it, because the whole thing is that Iris, who's Sophie Thatcher's character, and Jack Quaid's character, they're going to this like billionaire's mansion to hang out with some friends and stuff. And they really take their time kind of building these characters. They want you to know who these people are, what to think of them, to develop opinions of them, only to tear all of that to shreds after the first 30 minutes.
Right. And that's where you get the Barbarian level.
Yes.
Because if y'all have seen Barbarian, the movie leads you for the first like 20 minutes, then it hard pivots for the next 30 minutes, then it hard pivots again.
Yes.
And you're just left dumbfounded, especially if you have no idea what you're getting into. Besides that, it's a horror movie.
Yes. And same for this one. If you had no idea what you're getting into with this movie is extra wild. We kind of knew the lead that I'm not going to fully get into here.
Right.
But
I mean, I honestly, all I knew though was from the poster.
Right.
I had not seen a trailer.
That's good.
I hadn't seen a write-up about it.
Right.
I knew nothing about this movie going in besides the poster.
Right.
Which led me to certain conclusions.
Right.
Which were accurate.
Right. Exactly.
So once again, if I knew nothing about this movie, I would have enjoyed it more, but then I wouldn't have seen it. So it's like, how do you
it's hard to
navigate that? Which
it is. That's what marketing teams are for.
Well, marketing teams.
I mean, yeah.
So
that they do. So
which is why we have trailers and all that. But
right.
Yeah. What's your thoughts?
I fucking love this movie.
Yeah,
I
knew you did.
A lot.
I knew it. I knew
it. Yeah, I like this movie a lot. Like, it did not take much, and I was like, oh, this is going to be a very good movie. And then it just kept going, and I was like, this is an excellent movie. And just as it kept going, I literally just kept thinking, like, I love this movie more and more every minute that passes by.
Yeah,
I think it's fantastic. Like, I like it a whole lot.
Yeah,
so I mean, it sounds like you're in most excellent territory as far as critical.
At least a high rad.
Okay, interesting.
Honestly, I think I probably am a low most excellent because I can't think of anything that would detract from it to becoming a rad.
Okay,
because that's how I rate movies in my mind anyways, is like, how much did I enjoy it? Like, was my enjoyability of the movie, was it predictable? Did I know where I was going? Did it bother me that I knew where I was going? And things like that. If this movie was one where there was enough curves, I was a little annoyed how some of the people seem to be reprising roles I've already seen before. Jack Quaid reprised a role from Scream.
Oh, okay. You mean reprising as far as the type?
Yeah, they were typecast for this movie.
Yeah.
Guillermo's character, I can't remember his real name. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm bad with names. Plays.
He plays Eli.
Eli. So he played that very similar gay guy role in Werewolf Within.
Right.
He seems just like, it's just these are, I've seen you in these roles before. You're not trying anything new.
Right. They're not branching out. Yeah. So which they are all good at what they are doing in here. So I didn't mind. But I get what you're saying. It didn't really bother me at all, but they are playing kind of their type of role, all these people.
Yeah.
So, but which is fine. And I like everyone in this movie a lot. So,
yeah. The only person I wish we had gotten more from was the Indian chick. I don't know her name. But
we did not get a lot from her. She's kind of the weakest character in the film.
Her character was just kind of there.
It's a fairly paper thin character.
Yeah, which is unfortunate because I feel like they could have done a little more with her.
Yeah.
I mean, she wasn't the focus of the story, but this got a little more from her.
Honestly, like this movie's plot could be summed up in like the punchline of a joke, because it's literally like a couple, like a white couple, a gay couple, and a billionaire stay in a house on the weekend. Like, it's very like it's these groups of people, and so they really set up it feels like the stereotypes were kind of very intentional.
Yeah.
So we're going to go ahead and get into soft spoilers here, but y'all know what we think about it up front. I will say, so if you were worried about it being a horror, this is not a horror movie at all. It is a thriller straight up. There is some violence and gore for sure, but nothing's too over the top. There's one scene that's a little bit like
there was like the one scene and then they show the results.
Yes.
And I was like, oh.
Yeah, there's a couple gross like horror, or not hormones, but like gore moments, but like it's not.
And that's like my rating on the gore would be at least the middle.
Right.
If not a little higher, just because of those couple scenes.
Yeah. So yeah, with as far as critical sliders go, now there is a bit of there's probably a bit more to a lot of language. There's a decent amount there. The violence is right in the middle. The interesting thing is like nudity and sexuality. There was a conversations of these sorts of things, but the movie was very tastefully done. There's no nudity. They navigate that well for what this is.
Right. There's no nudity, but we do see some old faces.
Yeah. There's some really good O faces in this movie, like some really good laugh out loud O faces.
There are some great comedic moments.
There are some
this movie.
There really are. We laughed quite a bit, actually.
Several times we got a genuine like good laugh,
because they blindside you with some funny shit in this movie. Like it will be a straight moment and then all of a sudden something ridiculous and you're just like, oh,
that was the thing they do. They blindside you with it.
Yeah,
it's not just like it leads into a funny moment. It's a different screen,
a hard pivot.
Yep. And you're like,
And honestly, that's even how this whole movie is handled in general. And I think why I like it so much, Matt and I were talking about it when we walked out, is that the last hour of this film is balls out. You cannot go take a leak. If you want to take a leak, do it in the first 30 minutes, because you're not going to get a break from there. It is really just wide ass open for the last hour, and it is so much fun, and it's just every second. If you left to go pee, Matt and I were talking about, it's like you're going to have somebody's going to have to recap 3 minutes of ridiculous shit for you.
Right, because it just the story just keeps going left and right and changes. It doesn't, especially towards the end, like it doesn't breathe. It's trying to keep you on the edge of your seat to see where it's going, because you don't know.
Yeah, right.
And they do such a good job of making it where you don't know where it's going to go.
Right. Yeah, and they do, and there are even some predictable things that happen to a degree, or that you might have seen some of coming, but then they still take it in a different way. It's just, this movie is pivot, like, and so it just keeps on trucking. And you really don't know where it's going to go. So, but so slight spoilers here. So we'll get into that, but not like a full-blown spoiler convo, but basically just that this movie is about an AI girlfriend, which I had on the thumbnail, I realized, but I did want to hold it back for a little bit.
Right.
Because they take their time in revealing it. And if you didn't know, I could see it blowing your fucking mind.
Dude, right. If you had no idea, let's just say somebody dragged you to the theater and you didn't know what you were seeing. They sat you down and said, watch this movie. This movie would probably blow your mind.
Yeah. I would love to witness someone that knows absolutely nothing about this.
Yeah.
I would love to witness them watch it, because when the kind of needle drop happens of like this guy's girlfriend is an AI, and they do allude to like a maybe that it's possibly slightly in the future, but like not far. It's like a near future, because his car is kind of high tech.
Well, his car is basically, I'm pretty sure that was a Kia, but they were just pretending with like self-driving itself. And it was like, I mean, I know Teslas can self-drive, so this isn't like a brand new concept, but I don't think Teslas can self-drive in the middle of nowhere where the road isn't even on the map.
Right.
Which is what you see in the beginning, where they're like, man, where
are we at?
He's like, oh, this is the driveway.
Right.
Because it's not on the map.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was kind of the illusion, I think, for us, that it's like, okay, this is in a future.
Yeah.
And it kicks off in a way where it would signal to you that she's a robot if you know. So because he's like, wake up. And like, it's literally her waking up, and it sounds there's something about it that's off, where he's like, wake up, Iris. And then her eyes kind of pop open. So there was that moment, but
I don't know, even then it's just kind of like,
it's a very mild signal.
We're almost there.
Right.
But you're right. It's very mild. Like, and I wasn't looking for it. I honestly had kind of forgotten.
Right.
Because, I try to go in as blind as possible with these things. So like, I'd already kind of forgotten. And then I was actually a little taken back when we got to the reveal, because like, oh yeah, of course, I knew that.
Right. Well, because they really convince you, because that's the thing, is there's nothing about this character that feels like she's an AI robot. She feels as human as humanly possible.
Right.
And she's so compelling, and they do a really good job of being like, this is the best human here among these people. This is the sweetest, nicest, most normal person among this group of people, except for maybe her boyfriend Josh, who's the other lead.
Well, but except he was telling her to like, just smile,
right?
Just be friendly, don't be mopey, which is a weird thing.
He did a lot of telling, but it wasn't like a turnoff. They did a really good job about not making him.
And dude, talking about like, there's this guy on social media, and his whole thing is like red flag, green flag.
Right.
And I'm like, man, I need a red flag guy. That's a red flag right there. If I've ever seen one.
Yeah.
Hey, just smile.
Right. Just be happy. Yeah, there's some of that. Well, and then you really start to become a little suspicious, because there's a point in which, before the shoe drops, where they have sex, but like I said, nothing's shown, and things finish, and then he's just like, go to sleep, Iris, and he just like rolls over.
Yeah, that for me was like the reminding.
Right.
That was like, oh. Right.
And then the only other like non-human thing you see her do is he's like, hey, Iris, what's the weather? And she's like, it's 57 degrees outside with a chance of showers and blah, 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 blah. And then she just goes back to kind of being normal, but it's not overly robotic.
Yeah, it can be played off like, oh, that's just a quirky thing where she pretends to predict the weather. Because, I'm normally kind of like a weather guy. I'll be like, man, I think it's gonna rain this evening.
Right.
Yeah, like 70 degrees outside right now, I think.
Right. Yeah.
So,
and you're a bit robotic, so you'd be like, oh, it is.
Maybe I'm a robot. I go to sleep right now.
Try it out. Matt. Fuck off, Matt. There we go. So yeah, it's and actually Sin said in the chat that apparently the second trailer was actually what revealed it. They didn't reveal it in the first trailer, apparently, which is a real bummer. They should have just led into the mystery of like, something weird is here.
And so like, the thing they could have done with the trailer is they could have not shown that she was a robot, but just shown that she was covered in blood,
right,
and stuff like that, and never played in that she was a robot, right? And then all of a sudden, that's the reveal in the movie. There's no reason,
right?
As a marketing team, you need to be like, oh, she's a robot,
right? Yeah, they're capitalizing on the AI trend right now, I'm sure, and that was why they're like, oh, this is an AI movie. And I'll say this: I've seen over the years different types of AI movies and things of that sort.
Yeah.
And I mean, as far outside of like Terminator, this is probably my favorite AI related film.
Okay.
That I can think of offhand of the stuff that they've done over the years, just because of how it was. It's kind of like, this is where if AI was advanced, like obviously it's gonna get to the point where we have AI robot girlfriends, and they really do kind of delve into like how this would work and what the government would regulate, but it's not obnoxiously so. It's just enough to get you by, and that was what I liked about this the most, is that they didn't really cut any corners to where you're like, yeah, but what about this or what about that?
That's true. They did. Every time I had like but what if? How would this work? They have found a way to cover the ground.
Yeah, and even to the point in which, without getting into spoilers, where I'd be like, so and so would totally do this if AI was to this level and whatever. And then it fucking happened. Like every time I had that thought, give it 10 minutes and it happened. And I'm just like, well, damn, they're one step ahead of me every time. They're like, he was going to be questioning this shit.
Because I feel this is my problem with some movies is that why don't they hire somebody to go, hey, so let me questionize this line here.
Right.
Okay, we'll find a way to solve that problem. And that I feel like a lot of movies, if they do that, they cut it because they don't have that person come back at the final film or when they're like cutting it to ask those same questions.
Right.
And I feel like that's what they did with this movie. They were like, we're going to trust the script. We're not going to chop the shit out of it.
Right.
We're going to make sure we answer all the questions so that people don't say, this wasn't believable because X, Y, and Z.
Right. All the characters behaved pretty believably. Like everything, this world made sense. Everything in this world made sense, but it didn't overcomplicate itself. Every time they did something that could have overcomplicated it, they navigated it flawlessly. And so I committed on that. That's why I say like, this is definitely the best movie of the year so far. This will probably, unless I'm super blown away, this will end up being in my top however many movies. I mean, I'm talking like I'm well into most excellence. Like I'm like 94. Like I'm up there. I fucking love this movie. Like it's very good. I like
starting off strong, dude.
Right.
We're not even in February. We have a lot of bangers this year.
And this is typically like the dumping month. Like this is where they send the shit.
Well, that's the problem. Is like this movie probably won't do well.
Right.
In theaters because a lot of people don't see movies in January and February.
Right.
So I hope more people go see this. Like we saw it in IMAX for whatever reason. It was an IMAX and there was 10 people there and we saw it at 5:30. So it's not like an early showing technically.
Right.
But
there was that was whatever. Yeah, there was not a lot of people there. It was a bummer. It was definitely not a packed theater, and it was empty in the entirety of the theater, which is a very busy. But it also is. It is January, and this is not movie going month. So, I don't know. Do we even? Oh man, I'm wondering. It's like, should we even really get into spoilers? Like, I mean,
they're here. I think we should. I mean, I think we should have a discussion about it. This is full spoiler territory.
Right.
I mean, I want to talk about it.
Yeah. So like, I guess if you're in the chat and you don't want spoilers, we'll do it for a few minutes and we'll you can come back in or pop back in on the video later. That's the only thing I hate about doing with our live stuff is that we run people off because of talking about spoilers, but it kind of is what it is. So we're talking about the movie. So it's going to be spoilers now, guys. Kind of just going to talk about the ending and certain things, just little moments that we wanted to touch in on. But so if you don't want it spoiled and you plan on seeing this, maybe pop out for just a little bit and come back in later or whatever. So anyways, on to the spoilers. You have been warned.
Very warned. So multiple times.
Did you see the final kill coming from a mile away? Because I sure did. With the wine bottle opener.
I did, and then I was questionizing it because I've opened a lot of bottles of wine in my time.
Right.
And I still don't fully understand how that happened because the way the bottle opener worked, I mean, I guess it ejected into...
It drilled into his head. I mean, they were showing how, and it was like a high pressured, like high end one that just like rips the cork out. But so basically, the final kill in the movie is that Jack Quaid's character actually gets killed by Iris.
You just jumped to the end of the movie.
I did. I jumped right to the end because I was just like, they kept foreshadowing that damned bottle opener over and over.
It's 3 times that I remember that they opened wine with the specific bottle opener. Every time they'd be like,
And when it pops out, it's like thunk, and every time I was like, somebody's gonna die by that bitch, and it's probably gonna be the final kill because they have been priming us for this thing from the jump.
Right.
And so they did. I saw it coming. It was still a great kill. I loved it. And
see, it left me. That was one of like I didn't like that kill.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I was kind of questioning. I was just like, would this actually like do that? Like, would it have enough force to go through
a temple?
Temple's soft. I mean, maybe. I mean,
right. Corks are pretty thick.
I can accept that, but still, it had me questioning.
Right.
When we were just talking about how
consistent the movie is.
Right.
Yeah. No, I get what you mean. It was probably, I don't know. I believed it, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought it was a cool moment, and it was a fun thing that happened because they were foreshadowing it. And one of the things I liked a lot, we didn't talk about it, is I liked that. I guess he chose that she was going to have this like. What time? I guess like 20s or 30s aesthetic. Like she wore these headbands and like her clothes.
Her aesthetic was very
specific. Her hairstyle, like it was from a time.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing that that's what he chose. So like the whole thing here is that Jack Quaid's character gets to pick his sex doll, basically.
Right.
And he gets to choose what her name is and how she works.
Well, yeah, because they rolled in when they bring her in and they show him like setting her up and all that.
Yeah.
Like they rolled in like not cartons, but like several like
all her clothes, a whole thing of clothes. Like they prep it where they're like, this is all the clothes for your chick and whatever. We find out later that she's actually a rental, which is interesting because of like how expensive one of these would be, which is also, we talk about consistency with this movie, like another thing where you're just like, oh shit, like, yeah, that tracks. Like it would be fucking expensive to have a hyper realistic, all but real. Like you literally take them to a service shop to get filled up with liquid so that they cry or do other things.
Yep.
And so, and funny enough, the other shoe drops and we find out that one of the other main characters is actually also a sex doll.
And see, that's what I was talking about earlier, where I was just like, it didn't seem like realistic. And there was like, I don't know how people were being portrayed.
Right.
Well, then it made sense.
Right.
He's another sex bot.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, now it does make sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now I'm like, oh, okay.
The relationship didn't make a ton of sense because you're just like, I don't put these two together. It seems a little off, whatever.
Right.
And then when you find out, you're like, oh, no shit. Like,
yep.
And the interesting thing is too, is that you're in this world where these people clearly have been establishing like relationships with everybody, calls them sex dolls, but clearly a lot of the public doesn't have respect for them because that's what they are. But people are like creating full relationships and date these people for years because they're so close to real, where you're like, you see Iris and you're like, I'd fucking date Iris. She's great. She's awesome.
I mean, she's cool, but if I was picking one, I mean,
you don't like her? Oh man.
Well, I will say for the first like quarter of the movie, her lip like covers one of her teeth in a weird way.
I knew.
I looked past it and I was like, I think she's a robot, but her lip covers her tooth in a weird way.
That is just her real face.
I know, and I feel bad
you did
about saying that, but still,
yeah. I think she's very sweet. I like her. I find her to be very appealing. I think she's a good actress. And,
I mean, I think she's a good actress. Yeah, I think she's
going places.
In Hollywood.
She's excellent. Yeah. And I just, there's something very sweet about her. Same for in Heretic. She's just appealing. She's a very appealing person.
Even though she's not playing the sweet of the two
in
the two girls, she's not
Heretic.
playing like the sweet one. She's playing the cynic.
Yeah, and in this she was, but yeah, she knocked it out of the park. Jack Quaid is great as always. I love that dude. He's a great actor. I like him. You're not as crazy on him?
I'm becoming less crazy on him because I feel like I keep seeing him in the same roles.
Right.
Which is what I've already mentioned, so I don't want to harp on it, but. He is one of those people.
He's getting typecast.
He's getting typecast now, and it's the same thing over and over again.
He's the semi-nerdy, skinny, like, but kind of attractive guy.
And in this movie, it was the poor pity me. I can't have anybody in this world.
Kind of like
I
boys.
Rent a girlfriend.
Yeah. And the interesting thing too is that this movie, you can read like kind of some social commentary into it if you want, but also you don't have to ever think about any of that, and it doesn't matter. That's the thing that I loved about this as well.
Yeah.
Is it could have been a social commentary mess and they just diverted it entirely.
Yeah. It's literally however you want to infer on it and maybe what you you project on it yourself.
Absolutely.
In some ways.
For all the characters involved.
Yeah.
And so, and the other thing we didn't mention, I don't know how you felt about it, but the whole thing is that the real hook is that they came there because Jack Quaid's character had partnered with this girl, Kat, who was kind of a nothing burger of a character. She's honestly the biggest flaw in the film. They partnered together to basically do a heist and kill this billionaire and take all of his money because he was cheating on his wife with this girl. And she was basically like, she told Jack Quaid, like, oh, he's a piece of shit. We can kill him. It won't matter. He's a, you know, trafficker and a drug dealer, all this stuff. She told Jack Quaid, and she's like, convinces him to get the sex bot, all this stuff. So she kind of conned him into doing this con with her. And then it turns out that the dude is a sod farmer. So,
yeah. I mean, I thought that was pretty
and
funny.
Just kind of a piece of shit.
That's what they did it.
Yeah.
It also doesn't make a lot of sense that he'd be so rich as a sod farmer.
There's good money in sod, bro.
I mean, that's what this movie told us.
It does.
But
well, it is interesting if you ever, I've on multiple occasions encountered, like, now I don't know, not billionaires, but like extraordinarily wealthy people that are rich for stupid fucking reasons.
Sure.
And you're just like, but how though? So it's like, I always find that kind of stuff believable because I'm like, sure, there probably is a billionaire that fucking sells dirt. Like, you know, it's as stupid as it sounds. It's like, you know, it works for me. So yeah, but basically, this thing, I was really pleased with it, and we have my wife in the chat ragging us on our my spelling of companion.
We'll
but
later.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I'm just surprised I didn't call it the wrong word because I keep doing that. So yeah, but I thought everybody in this worked really well. What did you think of Lucas Cage, the other robot Patrick? How did you like him?
I liked him. Yeah, I thought it was, especially when he became like a active participant in the story. I thought, I was like, okay, cool. We have this other angle, and that's why they kept it fresh, because you know, you can go watch Ex Machina and get a very similar kind of movie. You know what I mean? And so you have two of them, and it was a very different take on it. And I was like, okay, I'm here for this. It's curious to see how this works and how this is going to play out.
It's smart while being silly, and I commend it for that, because
and the silly aspects made sense. I mean, I did kind of scratch my head when Jack Quaid was just like, oh, I'm just gonna leave her tied up here just because, even though I've jailbroke her, and I've increased her violence.
There were a few moments of people doing not smart things, but it's rare to see a thriller and there's not people doing dumb things, because it's hard to pull off a thriller without dumb people.
Yeah. But it was one of those moments where I was like, this whole movie wouldn't happen if he had just turned her off. And instead,
or reset her or whatever.
Right.
It's clear that I think it was because he actually did get attached to her. I think that's what it was all about. And we witness him. You witness Jack Quaid's character kind of spiral, and he definitely does. And I think that there was some of that where
and he has that God complex near the end.
Yep.
And he gets way too big for his shoes. And
Yep. Stuff goes sideways.
Yeah.
So yeah, it doesn't really it doesn't surprise me, and I like it though. I was really just kind of pleased with it overall, and I had a lot of fun. I'm gonna watch it again at some point. I want to get the wife to watch it with me, and
I definitely want to watch this again. And I think even knowing the whole story, I think I would still enjoy it on a rewatch.
And one thing I wanted to bring up is we have two reviews within Criticlist. We have Daydreamer 3322 and Tyler Wolf. And this is a tale of two reviews here, because one was a full-on shit missile for a 36% by Tyler Wolf, who basically said that it is an AI movie so contrived it may be written by one. And I highly disagree. I do not think that an AI movie would be even remotely this intelligent or this funny. And it says the only question is, how was any of this supposed to be clever, relevant, funny, or even that scary? And I would say, what the fuck are you talking about? Because I wildly disagree, obviously. So
if you want to hear more on his thoughts, there you go. There's a link to his YouTube.
Yeah, I'll have to watch it, but I went ahead and gave him a thumbs down. You're welcome. And then we had Daydreamer 3322. She was the first one to see it and actually saw it on one of the AMC Screen Unseens, and said that, you know, thought that they were going to have a feeling that it was going to be good and surprise or whatever, but was clearly very pleasantly surprised and gave it a 95%, even despite the trailer giving everything away, like we talked about, which is a bummer because the shoe does take a while to drop. So, yeah, and actually said reminded him a lot of an episode of Night Gallery, which I'm not familiar with, but it says you can't get help like that anymore. So interesting. I've not heard of it, but I'm gonna have to look that up. And it says, now think about that plot and mix in Whitest Kids, you know, humor, and it's a darkly good time. And, you know, that's honestly not a bad point. Some of that style of humor is in this as well.
Yeah.
So I can get on board with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so those are the 2 reviews that we have right now.
Well, plus,
Criticalist.
in the comments, we have Sin's Corner.
Yes.
And I'm sure she'll drop her review
in
a little bit.
Soon. And she already has her video review out. It sounds like she liked it a lot as well.
She was saying she liked it a lot. And it's definitely seems like, per her what she'll say, in the top 90s.
Yeah.
Or in the 90s.
90s somewhere. So, yeah. I think that this is I think that as far as this goes, Tyler Wolf is going to be an outlier in this, I think, for the most part. So, yeah. What am I refreshing here?
Criticalist.
Oh, is it Frozen?
Zena said there's another review.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I was like, why am I? What's going on? Yeah. Cool. Yeah, no, it's not showing a third review for me, so I do not know. Oh, wait, there it goes. It finally popped through. That was really weird. So yeah, we do have a third review for the movie, which might be Sins. Oh, nope. It's I always have trouble. There you go. I'm glad you said it.
Yeah, just gotta rattle off real quick and pretend you know what you're saying.
Yep. And said low suckage and gave it a 72%. So that's fair. Give it a rad. I can handle that. And sounds like he really liked it. Said the entire cast was great. And seemed to be really on board and kind of talks about the length as well and not being too long and that sort of thing. So we've got another positive review for this movie. So things are looking really good for it.
Yeah.
And I think it is going to do well.
Yeah.
So awesome. Well, I think that's going to be it for our companion review. And
wait, I do want to talk about, though.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Go ahead.
Hold on.
Yeah. What you got?
The one gory kill we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Because it was just a robot. Because the one thing they do in this movie to like prevent the robots from being overpowered is that in their programming is that, you know, they can only have like average strength, which I liked. Because if not, you have Terminators.
Exactly. Yeah, they instantly make it to where these characters can't be Terminators.
Right. And so we get one
because it's a government regulation.
Yeah, right. Thanks, government.
Which honestly does make sense. That's exactly something they would do.
Yeah, they would. But jailbroke it, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not going to opine on that. But it was the gory death is that it's a rock to the face over and over and over and over again. And then later in the movie, we get to see just the face completely like concaved.
Yeah.
I was like,
it was great. Yeah, he smashes that face in bad.
Yeah, that was a fun, gory moment.
Yeah, it was. And the thing that I wanted to do that we haven't been doing as much, but we've been touching on a little bit more, is actually bringing up Rotten Tomato scores. And the critics did not let us down for once. Yeah. This thing has a 95% from 110 people.
All right, which is appropriate.
Yeah, that is appropriate. And it's this movie. Honestly, we talk about how these scores regularly do play a role in people seeing things, and this could help this film, which I hope it does. And I honestly would be willing to guess that it is going to be even with the Rotten Tomatoes audience score, is going to be fairly high as well.
I think so too. I don't think many people will be coming out with like low scores.
Yeah.
I still think most people will be in the red or most excellent territory with this movie, and I really hope people go out and check this movie out.
Yeah, I agree. So definitely plan on watching this if you've tuned back in here at the end. But this movie's great. It's a really good time. I think it's going to be one of my favorite of the year, and I had a blast. So definitely watch it. And that's basically going to be it for our chat about this movie. One thing we did not talk about before the show was if we were going to do any send-off songs.
Yeah.
So are you prepped?
Of course. Yeah.
All right.
Of course I am.
So if you did not know, we do send-off songs, which is a song that we send you off with at the end of every episode. So Matt, what have you been listening to lately?
Turn It Up, Bitch.
Yeah,
by Limp Bizkit.
Oh God, is this old Limp Bizkit?
No, so yes and no. Limp Bizkit released an album a couple years ago, like 3 years ago maybe, and it's just fun. Like it literally makes me want to like get up and like b-boy dance.
Nice,
because it's like old Limp Bizkit, but the one song that really got famous was Dad Bod.
Okay.
or Dad Vibe or something like that. I think you listened to it.
Yeah, that sounds
familiar. And so this is another song off the record. And it's just fun. It's upbeat. And it's just, I don't know. Every time I hear it, I just want to dance.
It's just a
like the old school, like 90s dance.
That's sick.
And it's not like you don't hear music like this anymore. It just doesn't exist. And he's just like, I'm going to do what I want. He brings up Halo and Master Chief and stuff in the song. And you're just like, this is a fun song.
That's ridiculous.
And everybody should listen to it.
Yeah, nice. So Limp Bizkit, and it was Turn
It Up, Bitch.
Turn It Up, Bitch. All right. Well, since we're keeping it weird, then I am going to recommend that you listen to Half Horse, Half Man.
Oh, dude, I love that song. I can't stop listening to that one.
I can't quit listening to it. It's an absolute fucking banger.
It is. It needs to go to that European singing competition.
Yeah, like Eurovision.
Yes, Eurovision.
Yeah. It is a full-blown Eurovision type synth wavy song. It is a joke of a song that is fantastic.
It's fucking Lonely Island.
Yes.
From 10 years ago.
Yeah, it is. It is.
That's what I think this band is. That's their thing.
That style.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. And they took like in the music video is really good too. There's actually like a TikTok guy that's like the half horse, half man. Obviously is a centaur, but the word centaur is never said in the song. But it's basically about a guy who's half horse, half man, meets a girl on the internet, and she rides him, obviously cowgirl style. So yeah, it's a funny song. It's really goofy. We'll put it in our playlist for the music, which I don't know if we are caught up on.
Yeah, we're caught up on.
Okay,
I update it pretty regularly.
Sweet. So yeah, we'll add these to it, and the video for that one's pretty fun, and it is a banger, and it's super stupid, and you'll probably get hooked on it. And I think about it all the time and regularly listen to it, so it's really funny.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's a classic.
Yeah,
a new classic.
It is a new classic. It's great. So check those songs out. And I think that is going to be it for this week, guys. Yeah. If you are not subscribed to our channel, make sure to do that. Show us some love down there and give us that subscribe. Give us the comments, the likes, all that stuff. Thank you in the chat, everybody. We've pretty much been shouting out everybody throughout the show.
Yeah.
And I think we've covered most of the comments and that sort of thing.
And then I just want to say, I think next week I don't think we're doing a live, but the following week, on Thursday, Captain America, we will be doing it.
We will. And Kyle Off Script will be joining us.
Okay.
He already has got his ticket with us. So we're going to be seeing it, and we're going to be reviewing it early in the day. We got a fairly early showing. So we'll probably be able to do like a 6 or 7 o'clock. Probably.
Yeah, I would imagine would be at least by 7 p.m. because it's a 2:30 showing.
Yeah, it's early. So we can see it. We can have a fairly early showing. So you'll have a good idea of what level of dog shit Captain America, whatever this movie's called, Brave New World is.
I'm going in hoping it's
I hope it's awesome. I hope it blows my freaking wiener off. But
because there was enough in the show that was good.
Right.
If they took out certain elements.
Right.
That would have been great.
Right.
So if they listen to the people maybe for once,
it
could be good.
Right. Outside of the fact that it sounds like this movie is an absolute Frankenstein and they've cut it to pieces and dumped about $300 and something million on it trying to fix it. So it sounds like they didn't listen and then decided to listen.
Maybe it'll work out.
Yeah, I hope it does. I hope it does. So yeah, so that is basically it. And we did have Caveat Ties coming in here and saying Mozart's Violin Concerto number 5. Rando Movement. So apparently that is a song that all of you also need to listen to. So
there we go.
Some Mozart, keeping it classy. We recommend the trashy, and Cave Titties recommends the classy. So
maybe
he did also recommend Brave New Our World instead. So
okay,
yeah. I don't know. But anyways, yeah. So guys, thanks for joining us. This was a blast. As always, we won't be back next week. I might put out a video or so next week, or I could be doing some.
Why won't we be live next week?
Yes, I'm going to be in MegaCon.
That's right.
So make sure if you are there at MegaCon to come say hi. I'm going to be hanging out with the Geeks and Gamers people and Nerdotic and all of that crew of people. So I'll be rolling around with everybody and Drunk 3PO. I will actually be on his show again this upcoming Monday. We're going to be reviewing Groundhog Day. So join me for that, which is his Monday Night Hangover on Monday.
Yes. So make sure you get your reviews in for that.
For Groundhog Day.
Go watch Groundhog Day because I think that's on Sunday.
Yeah.
So
or Saturday
or Sunday, whenever.
I mean, not Saturday. Monday.
It's every day.
It's a day.
It's whatever.
It's happening a day.
Go watch it. Go review it.
Yeah. And they'll probably at least touch on it in our audience score and that kind of thing within the during the review. So guys, thanks for joining us. We will be back again soon. Go to criticalist.com, leave your reviews and all that fun stuff, and we will see you guys again soon. Later.
Peace out, guys.